Hi, guys. Happy fall. I am so glad that you're joining me today. So, this video is video number 6 for our little learners, age 3 through kindergarten group. The live class for this video will be on Monday, October 19th at 5:30 p.m. And I hope that you will join me. If you need that link and you don't have it already, have your grown up contact me or the church, and we'll be sure to get it to them. So, last week we started talking about someone new and their story in the Old Testament of the Bible. Last week we heard about a little baby named Moses. Well, Moses grew from a baby to a boy to a man. And today, our Bible story is about something that happened when Moses was a grown up. Now, in each stage of his life, from baby to boy to man, God was with Moses. And that's important for us to remember that God was with Moses and God is with you and me. So I have a little song that we started working on last week that I'd like for us to sing. I'll sing it through one time, and then we can sing it together as we're learning it. So let's listen through it the first time, and then you sing with me the second time. Do you know what God has said? God has said, God has said. Do you know what God has said? I will be with you. Now you sing it with me. Do you know what God has said? God has said, God has said. Do you know what God has said? I will be with you. Great job. Thanks for singing along with me. So, baby Moses grew up to be a man. And when Moses became a man, he was a shepherd. He took care of his family's sheep and goats. And one day, when Moses was out watching the sheep and goats, he saw a bush. The bush was green, like most bushes, but something strange was happening to the bush. It was on fire, but it didn't burn up. Moses heard God's voice speaking to him, through the burning bush. And Moses listened to God's important message. So let's open up our Bibles and hear that story of the burning bush. Now, as I read our story, every time I use the word fire, if I say fire, I want you to go like this, like the fire crackling, okay? So let's practice. I'm going to say fire. Good job. So anytime you hear me say that word, fire, that's what I'm going to have you do, okay? So let's listen to the story of Moses and the burning bush. Baby Moses grew and grew. He kept growing until he became a man. Now, Moses was a shepherd. He watched over his sheep and goats. One day, Moses was watching over his sheep and goats when suddenly he saw a bush that was on fire. The fire crackled and hissed. The fire sparkled and danced, but the leaves of the bush stayed green. The fire was not burning the bush. Moses heard a voice calling to him from the fire. It was the voice of God. God said, Moses, Moses. And Moses answered, Here I am, Lord. Moses, said God, take off your shoes. The ground you are standing on is special. So Moses sat down beside the bush and took off his shoes. He could feel the heat of the fire on his bare feet. Moses, I want to talk to the king of Egypt, said God. I want you to tell the king to let my people leave Egypt. I can't do it, said Moses. I don't speak very well. You need someone else to do this important job. But God said, I want you to talk to the king. Don't worry. Your brother Aaron will help you. Don't worry. I will be with you. Moses looked at the bush that was on fire. The fire still crackled and hissed. The fire still sparkled and danced, but the leaves of the bush stayed green. And Moses looked at the bush, and he knew that God was there. I will go to Egypt, said Moses. Moses knew that God would be with him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, what an interesting story for Moses's life. You know, he had such an interesting story last week as a baby, and now here he is as a man, as a shepherd, and God has spoken to him in this very unique way through this burning bush. You know, I wonder how many times had Moses walked by that bush and had never thought anything of it? That maybe it didn't look any different, maybe it didn't feel any different. But on that day, God chose that way to speak to Moses and to give him a really important job. So before our class on Monday, I would love for you to read this story with your grown-up. Again, it is in our booklet for this class called The Burning Bush, and it's inside if you would like to read that with your grown-up. But I have a few questions that I would like for you to think about before we meet, so that those are the things that we'll talk about in our class. So the first question I have for you is, how do you think Moses felt when he saw the bush was on fire? And how do you think Moses felt when he heard God's voice? And my last question for you is, how did Moses feel about what God has asked him to do? So that's our story for now, and that's what we're going to be talking about in class on Monday. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I love learning about Moses. He has such an interesting story because God used him in such an interesting way and such a powerful way. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to keep learning about Moses. So I'm excited that we get to share this part of his life story together. So we'll talk about this more in class on Monday, so I hope that you will join us. But before we end our time here, let's say a prayer together. Let's bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for stories from the Bible. Thank you for Moses. Thank you for always being with us. Amen. Okay, guys, I will see you on Monday, and I'll talk to you at church on Sunday during our children's message. So I hope you'll tune in. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.